Art Jarvis, special edition today. So the news is out. The Fed's made their move. What's the story?
Yeah, I mean, big change since since COVID, right? But we've been raising rates since 2022. Well, guess what? Today the Fed lowered the rates, not a quarter of a point, but a whole half a point. So.
Well, that was the question going in, when we wrapped up Taking Stock, episode 34, and when I wrote it up, I said, hey, quarter point or half point? That's the question. So they went to half point. So what do you say about that?
Well, that's a positive surprise, right? So, if they had not done anything, it would have been very ugly. If they would have done a quarter point, the market probably would not have liked it, so we probably would have sold off based on the fact that we've actually had some pretty good performance here over the last few weeks. But so the half a point is probably the best case scenario for the market on the short term.
And that is despite the protests of Art Jarvis, and not real protests, but I mean you were pointing out that it probably wasn't necessary to go the half point right now. Quarter point would have been good.
Yeah, that's how I felt, and you used the right word. I didn't really think it was necessary to do a half a point. Based on the things I'm looking at, the economic numbers we have talked about multiple times, I didn't think a half a point, or the fact that the Fed might be that far behind the economy that they needed to do a half a point. But here we are, but on the other side of the coin is, do I think an extra half a point is going to trash the economy or make things really bad? The answer is no. I think what's more important is going forward. And I waited a few minutes before, we talked to each other. I wanted to see kind of what the Fed minutes said and what changed and things like that. And, the interesting thing is as we well know, this is subject to change, but they're talking about a full point decrease in rates in 2025, and I don't hold a whole lot of hope on this, but a quarter point in 2026 that'll change half a dozen times before we get to 2026.
Let me ask you a couple quick questions.
Sure.
They're talking about, the full point in 2025. So what's the first meeting of the Feds where we could get more news like that in 2025? What will that date be?
That's a great question, and I didn't poll up for 2025. So, I'm assuming there's going to be a meeting somewhere in the first half of January of 2025. So that'll be the first meeting in actual 2025. But, we should have at least one more meeting and probably two more meetings before the end of this year also. We'll hopefully get a little clearer direction from those meetings.
Well, yeah, but you don't expect, and maybe we should not expect, in the remaining 2024 meetings that there would be any other rate adjustments, unless, again, as you always say, unless something drastic happens, but barring anything, totally out of the ordinary or totally out of the expected, the next two meetings during 2024, we should not expect to see, any kind of major change in the interest rates.
Correct, and you put it very well. Again, I stick by the fact that I didn't really feel we needed a half a point, but so we got it. So I think that makes a bold statement. But I also think that by making that bold statement, they're going to need a little bit of time to see what the new numbers are and maybe start to see what the impact of is a 0.5%. The economy, I always talk about the economy is a great big super tanker out in the middle of the ocean. It takes a long time for it to change directions, and we're not going to see an immediate impact, in the next 2 weeks to a month. We're going to have to sit back and, basically we're by lowering rates, that's the equivalent of tapping on the accelerator, and that's the equivalent of pumping more money into the economy with lower rates. So, and then you have a multiplying effect on the money that goes into the economy. So it's going to take at least a couple of months to kind of see, what kind of impact this first half a point decrease has on the economy.
Well, and there you have it. Art Jarvis with his finger on the pulse of our economy and what's happening. So recapping, Art, what do we have? So we had a 0.5 point rate decrease, interest rate decrease today was announced. And they talked about potentially a full point drop in the interest rates during 2025, and then maybe an additional drop in 2026. But that's all. I mean, that's all out in front of us. That's all speculation now. But it's at least that's what happened today. Yes.
Yeah, 2026. I'm paying zero attention to be honest with you. So, and while we're talking, I actually the amazing technology. The next Fed meeting is November 6th and 7th, and then the one after that is December 17th, 18th. For us to get another rate as you said, unless things change drastically, for us to get another rate decrease in November and probably in December, my humble opinion is that's a pretty slim chance.
Okay. Well,
that's
Art,
one person's opinion.
Art, well, listen, I thank you for checking in and giving us this, special. We're going to call it the Art Jarvis Taking Stock Special Edition on this Wednesday, the 18th of September, when the Feds decided to go the 0.5 point decrease. And listen, thank you so much for checking in with that and for offering your insight and thoughts about the commentary and some speculation about what's going to happen, in the in the immediate future, but also in that, obviously that distant future of 2026 and even, a little less distant, but still distant. 2025 is not here yet. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of predictions, and there were a lot of predictions made back in 2022 and 2023 that did not come to fruition. So,
right.
As we're well aware, things can change, and they can change drastically. But, the one thing I will say real quick, and then let you go, is, this is a change, okay? This is a change of direction by the Fed. We're going from a tightening policy to a more of an easing policy. And as we talked about in yesterday's episode or Tuesday's episode, typically on average, the U.S. stock market goes up 18% on average the 12 months following the first rate decrease. So, I take this as a positive. And we talked yesterday about not having a clear, the market meandering or directionless. This actually kind of gives the market a little bit of direction. So at least that's a positive as far as I'm concerned.
And we'll call it right there on a positive note.
All right, fantastic.
Hey, Art, again, thank you so much. Good talking with you. Appreciate the good economic news.
Yeah, my pleasure, and thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care. Have a good afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Bye, Chuck.
Bye-bye.